At this year's Thanksgiving dinner, my mother looked me dead in the eye and said, "You're the reason this family fell apart." I didn't say a word. I just got up and left. 3 weeks later, she was the one calling me, sobbing, after she finally discovered who had really been paying her medical bills for the last 3 years. I'm sitting in my car at a rest stop right now, because if I don't get this out, I think I'm going to explode. I am, or was, the invisible middle child. My older sister, Veronica, is the golden child. She married a surgeon, has 2 perfect kids, and lives in a house that looks like it's from a magazine. My younger brother, Dante, is the baby of the family who can do no wrong. He's 25, still lives at home, and is finding himself, which is code for playing video games and smoking his way through his 20s. And then there's me, Hazel, the boring one. I work a stable but unglamorous job in medical billing. I live alone, no kids, no dramatic life stories. And as I learned tonight, I am the official family scapegoat. Our family story really fractured 3 years ago when my mom was diagnosed with lupus. It was a bad case, the kind that means multiple hospital stays, a revolving door of specialists, and medications that cost more than a mortgage payment. My dad's insurance helped, but the co-pays, the deductibles, the things not covered, they were crushing my parents financially. That's when my sister, Veronica, began her performance as a family savior. At every birthday, every holiday, every family gathering, she would hold court, talking about how she was taking care of everything, how she was making sure Mom got the absolute best treatment. Whenever my parents tried to talk about money, she'd wave her hand dismissively. "Don't you worry about a thing," she'd say with a saintly smile. "I've got it handled." And everyone ate it up. My dad would get tears in his eyes, thanking her for her generosity. My mom would tell anyone who would listen what a blessing Veronica was. They called her Saint Veronica, saving the family with her surgeon husband's money. Here's the truth they never knew. Veronica wasn't paying a single penny. I was. Because I work in medical billing, I know the system. I know how to navigate the labyrinth of insurance claims and hospital bureaucracy. When I saw the first pile of bills that my parents couldn't pay, I quietly took over. I didn't tell anyone. I set up payment plans on my own credit cards. I spent hours on the phone negotiating with hospital billing departments, getting charges reduced. I found assistance programs my parents didn't even know existed. And whatever insurance wouldn't cover, I paid for. Why did I do it in secret? Because every single time I tried to help openly, Veronica would swoop in, smile condescendingly, and cut me down. She'd say things like, "Oh, sweetie, that's so nice of you to offer, but you can barely afford your little apartment. Let those of us who are more fortunate handle it." It was humiliating. So I decided that Mom's health was more important than my ego. I let Veronica take all the credit. I just paid the bills. For 3 years, that was my life. $47,000 of my own money. Every specialist copay. Every expensive prescription. Every procedure insurance denied. It all came from my salary, from the extra shifts I picked up, from the life I put on hold. And tonight, at Thanksgiving, my 3 years of silent sacrifice imploded. It started innocently enough. Mom was talking about her latest treatment, going on and on about how grateful she was to Veronica for making it all possible. Veronica sat there, soaking in the praise with a serene smile. Then my aunt turned to me and asked about my job. I mentioned I had just been promoted to billing supervisor. Veronica laughed. It wasn't a nice laugh. "Oh, good," she said loudly. "Maybe now you can finally contribute something to this family." A hot flash of anger went through me, but I bit my tongue. Then my mom piled on. "You know, Hazel, I do wish you'd been more present these past few years. While Veronica has been here taking care of me, you've just been so distant." Distant? The word hung in the air. "You never visit," my mom continued, her voice gaining a sharp, accusatory edge. "You skip family events. It's like you don't even care about this family anymore." My brother Dante, looking up from his phone for the first time, added his 2 cents. "Yeah, you act like you're too good for us now that you have your fancy office job." My fancy office job. The job I worked 60 hours a week at, the job that was paying for the medicine keeping my mother alive. My dad jumped in, his face stern. Your mother's right. This family has been through so much. And you just checked out. Veronica stepped up. You disappeared. I looked around the table. Every single head was nodding in agreement. In their eyes, I saw my conviction. I was the selfish one, the absent one, the villain of the story. Then, my mother delivered the killing blow. Honestly, Hazel, she said, her voice dripping with disappointment. You're the reason this family fell apart. Your selfishness, your absence. If you can't be bothered to help when we need you most, why do you even bother coming to these dinners at all? That was it. Something inside me just snapped. I stood up, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. I grabbed my purse. Where are you going? My mom demanded. I didn't answer. I just turned and walked toward the door. As I left, I heard Veronica call after me. Her voice laced with triumph. So dramatic. This is exactly what we mean. I'm done. I am so done. 3 years of bankrupting myself while she took the credit. 3 years of being called selfish while I maxed out credit cards for my mother's care. Tomorrow morning, I'm calling the hospitals. All of them. Time to make some changes. They want to see what this family looks like without me. They're about to find out. It's been a week since that disastrous Thanksgiving, and the fallout has been spectacular. The Monday after, I executed my plan. I didn't do anything monstrous. I didn't cancel Mom's treatments or anything like that. I just made some strategic administrative changes. I called every single one of my mom's medical providers. I removed all my credit cards from their auto-pay systems. I had all future billing statements redirected from my parents' house to my own address. And then I waited. It took exactly 4 days for the first frantic phone call. It was my mom. Hazel, something's wrong with the billing. The hospital just called and said the payment method was declined. I kept my voice flat, devoid of emotion. Oh no, that's terrible. You should probably call Veronica. I did. She told me to call you, since you work in billing. Interesting, I said. So the person who's been paying all the bills for 3 years needs help from the person who never contributes anything? There was a long silence on the other end of the line. What are you talking about? Nothing, I said. I'm sure Veronica will sort it out. She's been handling everything, right? I hung up. 20 minutes later, my phone rang again. This time it was Veronica. Her voice was sharp. What did you do? I removed my payment methods from Mom's accounts. Your payment methods? The confusion in her voice was a symphony. Surprise, I said. The silence that followed was delicious. You've been paying? She finally whispered. Every single bill. I confirmed. $47,000 and counting. But please, tell me more about how I can barely afford my little apartment. That's not. Why didn't you say anything? Oh, I tried to. Remember? You told me to let those of us who are more fortunate handle it. So I did. I handled it. Quietly. You're lying, she sputtered. Check your email. I had already prepared it. I forwarded her a meticulously organized folder containing 3 years of receipts. Every payment confirmation, every invoice, every credit card statement showing the medical charges. I titled the folder, St. Veronica's Contributions. She called back an hour later, her tone completely different. Hazel, I had no idea. That's because you were too busy taking credit to ever ask a single question. That's not fair. Greg and we've been having money troubles. I wanted to help, but it was easier to let everyone think you were the hero while calling me selfish behind my back. She hung up, but here's where the story gets really good. Veronica had made a critical, arrogant mistake. For 3 years, she had been claiming Mom's medical expenses as a deduction on her taxes for bills she didn't pay, with money she didn't spend. The problem for her? I have every single receipt in my name for my accounts. I didn't even have to threaten her directly. I just planted a seed. I casually mentioned to my cousin, who happens to be a tax preparer, that I had just learned you could deduct medical expenses you pay for a parent. I asked if it was possible to file amended returns for the past 3 years. "Oh, absolutely," he said, "if you have the receipts." But wait, didn't Veronica already claim those? I feigned surprise. Did she? That's weird, because I have all the payment records right here. Word travels fast in the family. By that evening, Veronica was blowing up my phone, frantic. "You wouldn't." "Wouldn't what, Veronica?" "I'm just looking into my tax deductions." "Unless, did you perhaps claim expenses that you didn't actually pay for?" "I'll pay you back," she cried. "All of it. All $47,000. Silence. I can't. Not all at once." The family group chat exploded. My one screenshot of a $5,400 payment for Mom's surgery, the one Veronica had boasted about covering on Facebook, sent everyone into a frenzy. The lies were unraveling in real time. My mom called me, sobbing. "Hazel, is it true? All of it? Every penny?" I said. "But..." Veronica said. Veronica lied, Mom, for 3 years, while you call me selfish, while you blame me for the family falling apart, while I was working 60-hour weeks to keep you alive and healthy. I don't understand. Why didn't you tell me? Would you have believed me? I asked her. Or would you have accused me of trying to make your golden child look bad? The silence on the other end of the line was my answer. The family didn't just explode. It vaporized. Veronica, in a desperate attempt at damage control, started a GoFundMe page, writing a sob story about the family's overwhelming medical costs. I shut that down quickly by posting a link to a spreadsheet detailing every single payment I had ever made. The page was gone within an hour. She then called a mandatory family meeting to clear the air. I went out of pure curiosity. It was a disaster. In front of everyone, I asked her about the tax deductions. Her husband, Greg, who had been kept in the dark, was horrified. "You lied on our taxes?" he asked her, his face pale. They left in the middle of her tearful, nonsensical explanation. He filed for separation the next day. It turned out the tax fraud was just the tip of the iceberg. A forensic accountant discovered she'd been skimming from their joint accounts for years to fund her perfect daughter persona. Designer bags, spa days, expensive lunches. She was a fraud in every sense of the word. Saint Veronica is now facing actual legal trouble, not just from the IRS, but from the GoFundMe donors, too. The family dynamics shifted seismically. Dante, my brother, got a job at a restaurant and is now an assistant manager. He's paying rent and has even started a payment plan to reimburse me. My dad, consumed by guilt, started therapy to understand how he had perpetuated the toxic family roles. He sent me a check for $5,000 with a note that said, "This isn't payment, it's penance." I donated it to a lupus charity in Veronica's name. My mom, that's the most complicated part. Her guilt is eating her alive. She wrote me a 6-page letter explaining how she projected her own childhood insecurities onto me and Veronica. It was a confession, an apology, and a cry for help all in one. Last week, she found some of my old credit card statements. She called me, cried with a different kind of tears. "Hazel," she choked out, "you took out 3 different cards just for my bills. You've been living on ramen while I called you selfish." "It's done, Mom," I said. "No, it's not," she insisted. "I failed you. For 3 years, I chose the easy lie over the hard truth. I can't undo that, but I can try to do better. Maybe she can. Time will tell." But last Thursday at her treatment, she introduced me to the nurse differently. She said, "This is my daughter, Hazel. She's the reason I'm still here." It's not enough to heal 3 years of wounds. Not yet. Maybe not ever. The trust is gone. But it's a start. I'm in therapy now, too. My therapist asked if I regret exposing everything. I don't. I regret keeping it a secret for so long. I regret letting them define me by their narrative. My family didn't fall apart. An illusion fell apart. A performance ended. What's left is broken and messy, but for the first time in my life, it feels real. I paid off my first credit card last week. The feeling of that weight lifting, it's indescribable. I'm not debt-free yet, but I'm no longer secret. I'm no longer a scapegoat. To anyone out there who is a family scapegoat, I have one piece of advice. Keep your receipts. Document everything, because their narrative about you is not your truth. And one day, you might need to prove it.